Hi, everybody. Oh no, I'm lagging.
It's kung fu fighting.
Honestly. Oh my gosh, really? Oh. Do you hear my voice before you see my lips move?
You're catching up now. Well, no, you're still lagging a little, but I hear your voice before your lips. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, hello, Karen Gabler. Thank you so much for being here on Something Super Spiritual.
Hello, Jeffrey Peck. I'm thrilled to be here with you.
I have missed you. I'm so glad to have you back, and you're in the midst of a big move, and I'm just so grateful that you're here.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here. It's funny when we were talking, I think it was in August that we planned this date, and I was thinking, oh, I'll be in the house. I'll be unpacked. It'll be all quiet. Nope, not yet, but close. Couple of weeks. We're getting there.
Yes, yes. And we were just talking, I have a move coming up that just like happened out of the blue. And with you'll be in your place in a couple weeks. I'll be in my place at the end of the month. So big
Perfect.
changes. I think there are lots of changes happening for a lot of people right now.
It seems like it. A lot of my
Mhm.
reading clients are going through all sorts of transitions lately.
Yeah. I get a lot of in most of the readings I've had, I'm sensing moves and shifts in their work, and it's happening all over the place.
Yeah, it's true. Relationship shifts, a lot of those going on, a lot of moving locations. Everybody's ready to and I thought about how much of that is this current timing, how much of that is perhaps kind of coming out of the pandemic and people are ready to move forward. It's almost like we were stalled out for a bit and everybody was just kind of sitting stagnant, waiting for life to move forward. And then for a while, it was still, even when it was over, it was just sort of the energy felt a little dull. It felt a little slow. And now the wheels are turning and things are starting to move really quickly, which is beautiful to see.
Yeah, I appreciate fast movement. Like we didn't take a lot of time. We've been looking for 3 years, but we're like, no, we're not in a hurry. It'll happen when it happens. And so when this landed on the doorstep 10 days ago, we're like, okay, it's time. And, even though there's a big event happening in Sedona in a couple weeks,
Yes, there is.
We're just going to add to it.
Yes, let's just take a moment to talk about your event.
Yes, this event is in 2 weeks. I leave a week from Sunday, and I am so excited. We have been having these meetings with our colleagues out there in Sedona who are co-creating this with us, and it's so incredibly beautiful. And just when we think it's like as beautiful as it's going to get, it just continues to get more beautiful and more yeah. It's when something big is happening when you have meetings with your colleagues, your people, and you have chills from head to toe in all of those meetings.
Yes, I do know. And it doesn't surprise me a bit because the energy has been building around you for the past 2 months and it just feels so good. It's going to be fantastic.
Yes. Yes. And then the rest of the year. So in November, we have a wedding to go to in Key West for a week. In December, Evan surprised me with a Christmas trip to Europe to experience the Christmas markets from Vienna to Amsterdam, with a stop in like Salzburg and Strasbourg and Cologne and wherever else. There are Christmas markets. So so this is a really busy year.
That'll be really exciting. I have a really unique trip coming up in December at Disneyland, the carvings. You've been to Disneyland, I'm assuming. Have you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So the carvings that you see, like the Winnie the Pooh carving and the bear carvings all over Disneyland, were done by this really well-known wood carver, Raymond Kinman, and he's doing retreats where he teaches people how to do wood carving. So we're going to go learn wood carving for a few days from the Disney wood carver.
Okay, that's fun.
That'll be fun. I'm excited about that.
Are you going to carve with a chainsaw?
I am going to carve with I don't know what, but I just want to come home with all my fingers.
Exactly. Oh, let's say hi to everybody.
Yeah.
Beth, Sue, hi Subi, Brenda, hey Brenda, Bernadette's back, Vicky.
Hi, everyone.
Guys, we have Brianna behind the scenes helping us from here on out. So you guys know Brianna from Kelly Eckhart and Cheryl Murphy's show, Seeing Beyond Living Transformed. And Brianna is a great help. So I asked her to come over and help us. And so everybody say hi to Brianna.
Yeah, Brianna's terrific. She's just such a gem.
Yes, yes. Hi, Janet. We were talking earlier, Karen, and we were talking about the subject of soul contracts.
Yes.
And you had mentioned, go ahead, talk a little bit about what we had started to talk about.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I had a reading that really struck me this week. And, I find in a lot of readings that spirit will come through and try to give us kind of a hint of a bigger meaning. Sometimes it's, the direct communication, which is always wonderful, the connections with their loved ones, but they'll also try to teach us as we're in readings about what they know of the other side and little things to give us hope. They're not going to tell us everything because we're meant to have this experience, but they'll tell us little things to give us hope. And it was so interesting because I was talking with a woman who is facing a divorce for many very valid reasons, and she is struggling a little bit with it because her father, who has passed, was very much a man of his word, a man of commitment, a man of loyalty. If you said you were going to do something, you did it. And she's been terribly worried that he was going to be disappointed in her, that she was ending up in a divorce, that she wasn't, keeping her word, so to speak, with her marriage contract. And he started talking to her about this. And he was describing the difference between soul contracts and human contracts. And he was talking about how when we come into this world, and of course he was talking about her as his daughter, when she came into the world, we've made a contract, our soul has made a contract for what we're here to learn, what we're here to experience, what we're going to do while we're in this life, while we're in this human incarnation. And then while we're here, we enter into all sorts of very human contracts. We have marriages, we have business deals, we have all sorts of agreements that we make here on earth that we take very seriously as humans. What he was speaking about was that she had fulfilled the piece of her soul contract that was connected to this relationship, that the end of the human contract was essentially irrelevant. Not that it isn't painful and challenging, but it's the end of that human contract. And if she stayed in the human contract, she would be breaching her soul contract because there are other things for her to do. There are other ways for her to shine. She can no longer shine her brightest light in this relationship. And therefore, she would only fulfill, 2/3, 3/4 of her soul contract if she remained stuck in a human contract that is ready to be finished. And so he was talking and reassuring her about the fact that her greatest commitment is to her soul, to herself, to fulfill her soul contract, not the human contracts we make, which are just steps we take along the way. Of course, this is not to say everybody should leave their marriages and walk away, but if you cannot shine in your job, if you cannot shine in your relationship, if you cannot shine the brightest light that you came here to shine, then that piece of your human contract is ready to be severed so that your soul contract can be fulfilled. It was such a beautiful description of something I know we struggle with so much here in life when things end and we think, did I try hard enough? Should I have stuck it out? And he was just so adamant that, no, that's just a human agreement. That is not your soul agreement.
That is beautiful. I
Isn't it?
mean, yeah. Um, such clarity for her.
Yes.
And it's he's right. You know, if she were to stick it out and stay there where she's probably unappreciated and you know, why people get divorced, you know, and it's
All the reasons.
miserable, right? Miserable, unhappy, stuck, moving nowhere, not moving forward. Um, yeah, she absolutely would be dimming her light.
Yes. And it really, just coming back to that concept of, if you cannot shine your brightest light, make a move. It's funny, we were just talking about all of these moves, and there's such synchronicity there.
Yeah.
When do you need to move? We need to move when we cannot shine our light in our current environment, whether that's a relationship, a location, a job, a state, a country, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That's really the ultimate goal. Are we shining at our brightest? That's what our soul wants for us. That's what love wants for us.
Absolutely. Quite often, you know, when in a quandary, not quite sure, you know, how to respond to a situation, maybe within a relationship or in the main relationship or with family, you know, um, ask the question, you know, what would love do?
Yes.
And and you're right, that comes directly from the soul, the very core of who we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we know when we are shining our brightest, and we know when we are not. And we may try
So
to
true.
talk ourselves into a more challenging existence.
Yeah.
But we're not shining.
It's you're absolutely right. We get to a place of complacency. We get to a place where the discomfort is more comfortable than the fear of the unknown. Can I, especially with regard to divorce, you know, can I make it on my own? Can I support myself? Can I, you know, whatever, especially if you've got kids and you know,
Sure.
all that. That's another factor. But yeah, it's, you know, my divorce was probably, not probably, hands down the most horrible experience I have been through. Horrible. And you know, hindsight being 2020, as it usually is.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, I was not meant to stay there a minute longer.
Right.
I would not have been able to shine my light like you just were describing.
Right.
And yeah, so yeah.
And if people do get stuck in that feeling of, what do I owe to someone else? What do I owe to this person that I agreed to stay with? And kids are a big one for sure. And there's so many, there's no easy answer when it comes to children in a relationship. But at the same time, again, coming back to that, the idea of shining your light, you can think in terms of teaching your children to stay committed and to stay a part of something. But you can also think in terms of teaching your children, what does it look like to be your brightest soul self on this planet? Can you be that person? What are you teaching them about letting go of your own soul path in order to commit to something that wasn't right for you or is no longer right for you, as opposed to showing them, hey, if you cannot shine where you are, find a new place to light up. And it's just, teaching them love, teaching them respect, teaching them honor. I'm going to honor this relationship by recognizing when it's come to an end, and by recognizing that both of us in this relationship will shine brighter if we continue to move forward rather than staying stuck here. And it's just, there's such a fine line between selfishness and I'm going to do whatever I want and I don't care what anybody else wants. And that's
Completely.
not what we're talking about, but we're talking about that knowing in your soul of where you can bloom, where you can shine.
Yeah. Wow. She must have felt so amazing after that reading.
She was feeling a great deal of relief because she had really been stuck on would her father be disappointed in her for breaking this agreement. And it just, it really speaks to the broader question and what so many readings are able to do to give people that piece of, so often we're looking at it from the wrong point of view. We're looking at it from our very human point of view. And our loved ones on the other side have the 50,000 foot view, the much broader picture of what we're here to do and why we're here. And I know you will say the exact same thing as well as all of our other fellow mediums. I have never had someone in spirit come through to express anger or disappointment. Never.
No.
It doesn't happen. They don't have it.
No. That's a human emotion. It's like that's part of the ego. It's like that we don't take that with us.
Right.
I mean, at least I've never experienced it, Oh, wow.
So we have this question from Bernadette about, does the soul feel human agony? If not, why does it choose what the flesh experiences? Such a great question.
That is a great question.
And I would say, first of all, the soul doesn't feel any human agony at all.
No, I don't feel so either.
No. And it's really, I have a couple of theories about this. And it really comes down to, I think the best way to look at it perhaps is the soul knows that this is such a microcosm of our existence. And the soul also knows that this is not real. Our soul is not in pain. Our soul is not going through agony. Our soul is not hurting. Our human is, and we came here to experience those things. It's sort of like when you have a toddler. I always describe it this way. You have a 3-year-old who is absolutely insistent that they want to do some activity and they're going to, climb up the slide and they're going to tumble over the side of it. And you're trying to tell them not to do it and they want to do it. Or they want something so desperately and you're telling them, no, they can't have it. I have to have this cookie. No, you can't have it. And they're throwing themselves on the ground and they're having a temper tantrum. Sometimes when they hurt themselves as children, as the parent, you're watching saying, well, this is part of the learning process. And they're okay. And 5 minutes from now, they're going to be just fine. And they're not going to even remember that this was painful. And I feel like it sounds very paternalistic, and I don't mean it that way, but I feel like there's some aspects of that can relate to our soul looking at, it's 30 seconds, it's 10 seconds, what you're going through, and you're fine. And you're never going to feel this hurt later. And you're not even going to think about it. You're not going to dwell on it. It's really, really hard when you've suffered a tremendous loss, especially for people who have lost a child, lost a loved one, especially under tragic circumstances. It sounds very surface level to say it's not real and you'll be fine. But on a soul level, we are always healed, and we are always reunited.
Completely.
And so there is no loss on a soul level. There is no pain on a soul level. Everybody's okay.
No. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The agony that we feel, whether it's physical or mental or emotional, the struggles that we come in with, the challenges that we experience through life, the challenges that force us to grow, and expand our consciousness and to remember who we truly are from the very core. It's that soul's evolution. We're here to remember. we're here to remember what love would do.
Yes. Yes.
And it's in all of this agony and struggle and pain and challenge that we learn and grow. And it's like, I mean, I was going to say, I wish it was not that way. But if you think about like when you're cruising through life and things are great and you're content and you're comfortable, you know, there's not a whole lot of growth happening in those moments. You know, you're real comfortable. And it's, you know, it's like going to the gym. You know, you don't go to the gym and lift weights without feeling sore the next day, or exercise running, you know, without feeling sore the next day. And you push yourself a little harder and a little harder each time, and your muscles get sore, but they get stronger and they get bigger and they get stronger. And it's the same thing with our soul and our spirituality and our growth. We struggle through that soreness, you know, but it's growth.
Well, yeah, it is. And when we look at, you know, why, for instance, why do we choose what the human experience is? Now, I always go back to one of my very favorite books, and it's a children's book, but it has helped me more as an adult than anybody else. The Little Soul in the Sun by Neil Donald Walsh. Fantastic, very short children's story. And it's such a good way to understand what we're doing here. And in that book, if you haven't read it, there is, you know, a soul wanting to experience forgiveness. And in spirit, there is nobody to forgive. Nobody is doing anything wrong to them. There is nobody to forgive. And so they want to come down to earth and they want to experience forgiveness. And one of their fellow souls agrees to come to earth and do something horrible so that they can learn to forgive. And so they have agreed to come here and be awful in order to help their friend, their loved one, their soul mate learn how to forgive. And so you wonder, like, why would somebody be so evil to somebody else? Why would somebody choose to go through pain? And that's a perfect example of, if I want to learn to forgive, then someone has to do something to me that requires forgiveness. If everyone is sweet and loving and wonderful to me my whole life, I will never experience a need to forgive.
I love that little book too. I have it on my bookshelf.
Isn't it great? It's
Yes.
so simple and it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And it's given me so much peace over, you know, when someone is really challenging for me, I haven't yet on a human level quite gotten myself to the point of thanking them for being horrible. But on a soul level, I try to understand that they might actually be part of my soul group and they've agreed to be horrible to help me in something I wanted to do.
Oh, completely. Completely. I have looked back at my divorce even, you know, and how horrible that was, and how painful that was. And I know from the very core of who I am that yeah, we set that up together. You know, that was part of what he and I both needed for our own growth in moving forward.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean, no, it doesn't mean that we have to choose the most difficult path. And, you know, somebody mentioned in one of the comments wanting to end some of their soul contracts. I do believe that we can work toward choosing ease and flow, choosing grace and goodwill. If you're ending a relationship, you can step back and say, this doesn't have to be anybody's fault. Neither one of us has to be a bad person. We have completed our path together. And I wish you well, and I wish you love, and I wish myself well. I wish myself love. We can choose to move through it with grace. And look, it's a difficult choice. On a human level, it is a choice you have to make over and over and over again. And if we're stuck with somebody, if we're in a toxic relationship, whether it's at work or in a family, we can choose to cut that cord and release that.
Mhm.
say, I'm finished with this piece. I release you. I release the need to learn through pain. I choose to learn through ease and grace and flow.
Yes. I love that thought. I had to sit there and think about it for a moment. It's beautiful. I mean, it's really beautiful when you think about that. Yeah. And some people have a really, really, really difficult contract.
Yes.
Really difficult. I mean, where we're, talking about not having been treated well by parents or grandparents or husbands, wives, spouses. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's very easy to find yourself in the place of despair, where all of this light and love talk sounds like it could be, airy fairy and unattainable,
Yes.
And I just want to hug those people, because I get it. I've been there. Oh my gosh, I've been there. But it does. It takes commitment to the self, commitment with your soul to move forward. And like you were talking about earlier.
Yes. Yeah, it is. There was a really interesting talk that I listened to at one point, and I'm forgetting the speaker's name, but she talks about, what if the darkness you're going through is not the darkness of the tomb, but the darkness of the womb? That you are, if you think about the process of being born, the process, it certainly is, it's painful for all involved. It certainly has to be ridiculously challenging for the infant coming through into this life. And it must seem terribly dark, and the pressure must seem horrifyingly painful and deep, and it must seem like it is never going to end. And certainly the laboring process can seem like that for many people. And then thinking in terms of, what if it's just the process of birthing a new life, the process of coming into something better. There were so many years that I went through some incredibly, incredibly difficult things. And I went through probably a decade of feeling like my life is meant to be in shadows. My life is meant to be walking around under a cloud. And I had a reading at one point, finally, where they said to me, you've front loaded all of your pain. And now you are meant to have that ease and flow and grace. And it doesn't mean that nothing bad will ever happen to me the rest of my life. And it doesn't mean I won't have difficult things to go through. But it was such a mind shift in that moment to go from feeling like I was doomed from the beginning. Yes, Valerie Coward. Thank you. That's the speaker. I love her. I absolutely love her. There's always another day and another step. Mm-hmm. I saw a quote that said, it's the best things to happen to you haven't happened yet. And the people who will love you the most, you haven't met yet. It's true for some, not true for others.
Yeah.
But tomorrow could be different, and next week could be different. And I guarantee throughout that decade, I was positive my life was doomed. One thing after another, after another, after another, brutal, painful things that happened over a long stretch of time. And I just thought, when's the next shoe dropping? I'm just meant to keep getting pummeled every year. And it went on for years. Granny says, after 65 years of labor, I think I need to be born C-section.
I know. I saw that when you were talking, and I didn't want to bust out
Oh my
laughing.
God, that's so funny.
Oh, Granny,
So
I
funny.
love you.
I agree with you. Time for a C-section. Let's end this.
Oh,
Enough pushing.
yeah. Wow, this is a really great conversation.
I love it.
Do you guys have any questions? Any other comments? Thank you for that, Granny. That laugh that felt good. Ah,
Oh, it's really hard. And you can't, obviously, there are so many individual circumstances and there are so many things that can happen and be really challenging. And you're right, it is easy, especially when we're just talking on a surface level. It's so easy to just feel like we're just whitewashing the surface of it.
mhm.
And that's certainly not what we want to do. But a lot of those messages come through in our one-on-one readings. I know you've had that as well, where the really deep healing and the more direct messages come through.
Yeah, absolutely. Over here in Instagram land, Maria Ann Dews Morningstar. Hi there, welcome back. She asks, does the soul ever actually die?
Well, no, I'm certainly not. And not in the way we think of death on Earth.
Uh-uh. No.
Absolutely not.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Brianna. Yeah, no, it does not die like that. Our soul is a direct spark of source, God, great central sun, whatever we want to call it, right? I mean, it's the spark of the divine.
Yes.
We go back to spirit, and we go back. We've heard that metaphor of when we die, when we transition, however we want to word it. It's like a drop of water going back into the ocean, right? And sure, that's another way to look at it. And it's also another way to look at that we are actually the entire ocean. We are the entire ocean. Think about that.
I did have someone come through in a reading once and say, because there was a question that came up in the reading from the person I was reading, she wanted to know something about death, somebody's death. And the answer that came back was, we don't use that word here. I was not dead, I was born.
Yeah.
And each phase, each stage of your existence is another birth.
Yeah.
So there isn't any death, even from this life, no death, just a birth into the next phase of existence.
I love that. Transition.
Yes. And again, the birthing process can be hard. So a death, as we think of it, can be a very challenging process. But if that is a birth, it's just another difficult, laborious transition into the next birth.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, wise one.
Wednesday afternoon musings.
Yes. You guys ready for some readings?
Yes.
Oh, Venti Latte over here on Instagram, she says, why is Earth the hardest experience? Or at least that's what I hear.
Well, would it make you feel better or worse to hear that maybe it's not the hardest?
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know what the other experiences might be. Earth is certainly a tough one.
Yeah. Well, it's 3D life. It's bipolar, My
Yeah.
father told me a long time ago, we all came from the same place and we're all going to the same place. Amen.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I saw in the chat that Bernadette wants to know about a relationship issue.
Okay.
Someone who wants to be in a relationship. We dated for a short period of time and now he thinks he's ready. Don't know what to do. My first thought on this, the first thing that comes in, is that the question is very focused on what he is ready for. And I would like to turn attention to what Bernadette is ready for.
Yes.
And that is coming through. Let me just feel into that a little bit more, because that came through fast and furious. So it seems like in this situation, this is someone who feels like he just wasn't he wasn't where you needed him to be. He wasn't where he needed to be when you knew him before. He's very much of the opinion that he has grown and he has changed. But at the same time, you have grown and changed. He's ready to come back to who you were at the time. And you are no longer that person either. You have grown and changed. So the question is whether you have both grown and changed in a parallel path. And it feels very much like he had more work to do than you did. And it feels like you would have had to be waiting for him to catch up. And so going into this now, the message is really for you to look very carefully, not at where he is, but where you are. And does he fit into where you are now? Or does he fit into now he's grown to where you were before, but you've already moved on?
Yes. I agree. That was actually the first thing that went through my head was that she is also not in the same place that she was. I'm ready for a healthy relationship. I don't know what a healthy relationship feels like. I'm open to trying.
So
Yeah.
let's not, okay, again, they're coming through saying, don't try to be in a healthy relationship. Less trying. And they're bringing up again what we were discussing earlier with the ease and flow. Do you feel any level of ease and flow about the relationship? Does it feel like this adds to your life? Does it feel like this moves you forward? Does it feel like this lifts you and boosts you and you feel lifted? You feel higher after you've been with this person than you felt before you were with them. It's interesting because my daughter was asking me, I just took her off to college, so she's just launching a new chapter in her life. And we were having a long conversation, and she was asking me about how do you really know? The age-old question, how do you really know when it's right, when being with somebody is right? And one of the things that came through, intuitively came through as I was talking to her, is that if your thought process is more, your feelings, your thoughts are more along the lines of, I just feel happy, energized, better, lifted, shining when I'm with this person, then you're focusing on how you feel when you're with them, and that's important. But if you are instead focusing on, can I make it work? I'd really like to be with somebody. We were close before, maybe we can be close again. What if he's changed and he's different? If there are a lot of very human questions around, can it work? Should it work? What if I do this? What if we do that? Then you're not in your intuitive nature and you're not in your soul as you're exploring it. But if you're looking instead at, how do I feel when they are near? How do I feel when we've spent time together? How do I feel when I'm on my own, knowing I'm going to see them soon? How do I feel when I'm with them? And if that feels right, if that feels lifted, if that feels true, then it's absolutely worth exploring it.
Totally. Yeah, Bernadette, I really want to encourage you to follow your heart. You know, like you not knowing what to do, I think is part of an answer for you. I feel like, you do know what to do, but I think you want a relationship. And and I get that. I absolutely get that. But I really don't want to see you go for a relationship for the wrong reasons. Um,
Right.
yeah,
And it doesn't mean it's wrong.
right.
It just means that they're encouraging you, spirit is encouraging you to consider it from a different perspective, to ask different questions, to explore different feelings. We're not saying, I'm not saying, and Jeffrey, I don't think you are either, that he's not there and this isn't going to work.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
But it's more just, it's too early to know, but it's more just exploring the right questions. That's fine that he's ready. How does it feel for you?
Yeah. I mean, like if it feels for you and you think about it and your heartbeat starts to race, or you start to get excited and you start to light up, there's some answers for you. That you want to be with him and you can't wait to see him and you're excited to be with him at the end of the day or on the weekend or whenever. That's your own body giving you the message.
Our bodies are terrific pendulums. They really are. We don't need other tools, although they certainly can help. Your own body is a wonderful pendulum. If you want to consider what is right for you, sit quietly and just feel the positive side of that, the negative side, feel into the pros and cons. Where do you feel them in your body? Do you feel tension? Do you feel clenching? Do you see darker colors, lighter colors? Do you feel lifted? Do you feel energized? Your body will tell you. And if you tap into those physical feelings, your mind kind of gets out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Your body is the best antenna, the best tool, the best spiritual tool you have.
Yes.
Period. Bernadette, we're giving you hugs from here.
Yes. Now, Brenda says, between now and when I'll get my higher paying job and meet my new friend, do you see anything inspiring for me? And the first thing that comes to mind is encouraging you to live in the present moment. Because there is very strongly a feeling that you are firmly planted in a future date when things that you want have happened for you. And it feels like, it's interesting that you said, do you see anything inspiring for me? What I see are messages and learning opportunities and very subtle shifts in your life that will be happening between now and bigger transitions later. And it's important that you don't miss those nuances along the way. It takes a little more attention, a little more quiet, a little more being present, because there are, for a lack of a better term, I'm going to say there are tips and tricks coming to you along the way as you move into bigger transitions, and they are not meant to be lost. And this comes up a lot when people are very forward thinking, when we are thinking, I'm going to move. I was doing this last year. Absolutely. When I knew I was going to move this year, for a while, I was just living in the future. When I move, I'm going to do this. When I move, I'm going to do that. When I move, it's going to be like this. When I live in Oregon, it's going to be like that. And I was missing all sorts of things day to day, including signs from my loved ones, messages, things I was meant to learn. I had to really kind of grab myself, shake myself up and say, hold on, you're not there yet. You're missing your life while you are daydreaming about a different life.
Yeah.
And it's so important to remember that there are beautiful nuggets of wisdom and growth that are happening to us while our brains are living in the future or the past sometimes.
Yeah. Brenda, I right away I went right to your head. And I just feel like that, there's this, like I feel like I'm thinking, like I'm overthinking, thinking and overthinking. And I really want to encourage you to, when you start to recognize that you're overthinking, like take 3 deep breaths and pull yourself back down. Ground yourself. Because what it feels like to me, it feels like you are in the midst of this great shift. It feels like there is, do you see anything inspiring for you? I mean, it's all inspiring, and it's awe-inspiring as it's all happening. And I love what you said, Karen, about being present, because when we aren't present, we miss those synchronicities, those messages from spirit, from the universe, from our guides, guardians, wherever it's coming from.
Yeah.
And it just feels like just tuning into your field. I feel excited for you. I feel excited for where you're headed and what's coming. And it's like you're leaving all of this baggage behind. It feels like you're releasing the old and embracing the new. And yeah, I want to second what Karen said by being present and try not to overthink it all.
The other thing that's coming through just for when this occurs, as I'm looking at when I get my higher paying job, there is going to be a pay increase for you, Brenda. I don't know if you already know that's in the works or if you're manifesting it, but I do see a pay increase for you on a future date. But there is a message coming through about being cautious with that increase and using it wisely. There's a feeling around that of, like, on a human level, such relief of, now I've got more money and I can buy this and I can pay off that and I can do this and do that. And there's a message coming through for you about making sure you're holding some back, making sure you're being cautious. It feels like there are some bills that you'd like to pay, and I'm feeling that it's best not to pay everything right away. It's best not to do everything you're thinking of right away. Have an emergency fund, have some held back, even though you want to use it for things that you need to take care of. There's just a message of caution around that. And it's not, I don't want to say, I'm not saying there's a caution like you're going to lose the job, you're going to lose the money. None of that. I'm not feeling warning signs around it, but I am feeling this caution of be conservative, be cautious, hold some back, be patient with it.
Perfect. And she's retiring in 4 years.
Perfect.
Awesome.
I love it.
Awesome. Okay, I'll pick one. Let's see what Janet has to say. Hi, Janet. Here we go. Janet, on a light question, my mother-in-law passed very recently, and my son desperately wants a pasta recipe she made often. She created a cookbook for the grandkids, but this recipe she created herself was not in there. Was there brown sugar? Okay, that's just funny.
It is really funny. And, I'd probably be the worst one at coming up with ingredients because I'm not much of a cook. But what I am feeling right away with this, I'm not feeling a direct answer on the brown sugar, but what I am feeling is that it's not just one item that's missing, that she threw in a little of this and a little of that, and there's a variety of things pulled together. And I'm also feeling it may have tasted similar, but I'm feeling this is not a recipe that she followed even in her head. This is something she threw together on the fly and used different things at different times. And there wouldn't be any one recipe that is always going to turn out the way she made it. It's like, I've got a little bit of this, I'll throw it in. I've got a little bit of that. I need to sweeten it up a little, I'll use some of this. I'm hearing applesauce for some reason. So it does feel like there would have been something she put in for some sweetness.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like it's always the same thing. It's like Maybe it's, I have a little brown sugar, I'll use that. I have some applesauce, I'll use that. It's just, she's adding flavors. It's, I need a little sweetness. What do I have that's going to add sweetness? I need a little spice. What do I have that's going to add spice? It feels like it's different depending on what she has available.
Yeah. She feels to me like she really cooked from the heart,
Yeah.
where ingredients weren't measured to the T. You know what I mean? I love that. I love that. I would just say, Janet, I would just say, try the brown sugar. If it's good, great. But I do feel like that there was a sweet element.
Yes, but it
But
feels
not
like,
much. But not much.
yeah, it's like the recipe wouldn't be a teaspoon of brown sugar. It would be like a teaspoon of something sweet, like that kind of thing. It just be,
Yeah.
it needs this much sweetness, it needs this much spice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you could probably play with a number of things and taste it and see, the difference between, do I need more sweetness, do I need more spice, that feels important, and it feels like a taste testing thing while you're making it. So I feel like you could play with that and go back and forth and just mess with whatever you've got and try it out.
Janet, you know what? I just got this ping to remind you to ask her. Ask her. And ask for a sign. They love to play with us. They love to play with us. Ask directly, was there a little bit of brown sugar? Show me by giving me a butterfly or a hummingbird, or something that just really catches your eye. They can play with us like that.
You could also, what's coming to me as you say that, Jeffrey, going back to what we said about using your body as a pendulum, put out a few different options and see where you feel pulled. Ask her to pull you to what you need to add.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's super fun to do because they love to communicate with us and interact with us. They love to be part of our daily experiences. And it's such a cool experience to have that awareness, that experience where, you do feel like you're being pulled towards, the brown sugar, for instance. That it is literal communication happening. It's in action. It's so cool.
Well, and Harley just mentioned in response to Janet, do you think she could have added molasses? I heard molasses, and that there's a couple of things that strike me about that. First of all, it ties in with what I was saying of just finding something to add sweetness. But more importantly, Jeffrey was just talking about ask her and let her tell you. And then Harley hears molasses and throws that in.
There you go.
I would absolutely give it a try, because that may be her effort to bring something through that an ingredient challenged reader like me isn't coming up with.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, try that, Janet, and let us know what happens. Thank you, Janet. Oops, water lily. Water lily, you're struggling. Does Spirit have any messages for me? I'm hoping things are going to get better soon. Well, here's the thing. I feel like that things are on the up for you. It feels like they're on the up. They're headed to, but I want to, I'm sorry, I'm being pinged all over the place with regard to this. I really want to encourage you to remember gratitude. I keep hearing gratitude over and over and over inside my head. And I know that you're walking a spiritual connection. You're walking a spiritual path. I know that gratitude is not something that this is the first time you're hearing about it. But there's this feeling of like committing that I want to remind you to commit to that getting better, along with your circumstances getting better. Because as we manifest, as we are co-creating our lives with our soul, with our soul family here, we have to take accountability and responsibility for a lot of that, right? We have to, be conscious about how what lenses we're looking through. And I know that you have the lenses of spirituality, the lenses of compassion, the lenses of grace. My lag is really confusing me. I know you do, Water Lily. I know you absolutely do. So I just want to tell you, yes, I feel like the circumstances are lifting up for you. It feels to me like I keep seeing the wintertime, like snow. So I just it feels like it's lifting up. It feels like wintertime. It won't feel so heavy, but I also want to encourage you to take action with respect to that, in starting with gratitude every day, starting with looking for the positive every day. You know what I mean? And start to manifest along with that. Does that make sense?
It certainly makes sense to me. And I'll tell you, the phrase that keeps coming through very strongly ties right in with that. I keep hearing act as if, act as if. Act as if things are beginning to lift. Act as if things are looking up. I'm hearing a lot of messages about there's a real lack of self-care right now for you in several different ways. It's almost like it's just not worth trying. I'm hearing that you need to be drinking more water, getting more sleep, eating better. And not in terms of, I'm not trying to give you nutrition advice, but more in the sense of taking good care of yourself. There's this feeling of, because things have been a struggle, you're not seeing yourself as the light that you are and the light that you can be. And acting as if, this just keeps coming through over and over again, acting as if things are better, acting as if you are a prized possession. The feeling of, I deserve the best possible care today, so I'm going to take care of myself as much as I possibly can. I'm going to smile at the people around me, even though I feel like there's nobody there smiling back at me. I'm feeling all kinds of goosebumps around this, feeling like you need to act as if you are the treasured, lit up soul that you are. Take care of yourself in the way that you want to be cared for, and the energy around you is going to start to lift. And just like Jeffrey was saying, the action is required, the co-creating is required. And it's so hard to do when things are not working out and things seem to be lagging and you seem to be stuck. But get up in the morning and think, if everything was going really well, what would I do right now? And how would I treat myself? And how would I behave towards others? I feel like there's this fog that's going to start lifting off of you. It's like you're surrounded, like when you see a foggy area, a foggy horizon, and then it lifts and all of a sudden you can see all the scenery. That's the image that they're showing me, that there's this fog that is going to lift, but you need to keep walking forward so that you can get to the space where it is lifting. And that feels really important for you.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Water Lily. Thank you, Karen. Yeah. Oh, it's already 5 o'clock. Oh, guys, on Instagram ends after 1 hour. So just an FYI if it just shuts off on you. We'll do one more. How's that? You want to pick one?
Yeah, absolutely. In general, I'm seeing a number of different messages from different people about finances. What's going on with my finances? Struggling with my finances? What do I need to know about my finances? I feel like there's some parallel messages going on here about financial struggles and about financial stagnation. that we can feel into and possibly help more than just one person. It feels in general, again, this message is coming back through that we had a bit ago of just being cautious, feeling like things are a little bit overwhelming. It feels like things will start to release for people in the near future. It feels like unexpected money will be coming to people. And there's such a message around here of when you receive money, don't jump right into what I was planning to do with it. I'm seeing the messages about finances have been rough. When there has been a struggle and then money comes in, there's a tendency to immediately throw it at whatever you were waiting to buy or whatever you were waiting to pay. And I'm still feeling this caution coming through from spirit around money in general of just be cautious, be smart. When it comes in, don't feel that sense of relief and then just send it all out. And part of that, the reason this is coming through, they're continuing this. So let me just continue with this for a moment. The mental energy around it is impairing some of the financial flow. The worry, the stress, the when is it coming? What's coming? Is it going to be okay? How can I get more? I'm seeing this kind of whirlpool of swirling emotions of stress about the mental workings of what's coming, when's it coming. And this message coming through for people of hold some back, be more conservative. What Spirit is trying to ask everyone to do is to give yourself space to breathe, to not be in that mental state. Going into that state of lack, this ties in, they're tying it back to what Jeffrey was just saying about the action and the co-creating. When we are in a place of lack, when we are in a place of pulling, energetically pulling on, I need something, we are creating that fog that we just talked about. We are creating the inability to see clearly, the inability for anything to get through to us. So the reason that Spirit is talking about be cautious, be conservative is not because you're going to be in trouble again, so make sure you've got a backup. The message is more around let's release some of that energetic cord of I'm stressed, I have nothing, I need more, when is it coming? That's the cord. I'm seeing this scissors from Spirit. That's the cord Spirit is trying to cut for those of you who are struggling in this area. And this can be applied beyond finances as well. But the goal is to protect our human swirling so that we're not energetically blocking what is already available to us, the abundance that is already there. So create that space for yourself to just release and say, I trust. And give yourselves that cushion to be able to say, I trust and I am fine and it is coming.
I couldn't have said it any better. I'm just going to leave it at that. That was absolutely beautiful. Yeah. That was absolutely beautiful.
It feels like that's for a lot of people. And it feels like it is about more than money. It is about, we talked earlier about cutting those cords. There's a lot of cord cutting messages coming tonight, a lot of needing to release what isn't serving us, needing to release our own thoughts that are holding us back, needing to open up for the expansion that is available.
Yes. I mean, releasing that which doesn't serve us. And there's a lot for all of us. We had to be consciously aware of what is not serving us.
Yes.
And our thoughts are so powerful. And to catch ourselves when we start to go to those lack-filled places.
Yes.
Or fear-filled places.
Yes.
Yeah, it's we are so powerful. We've got our guides, we have our guardians, we have spirit, source, God, universe, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
Every like if we could literally see all of this with our eyes, there would be no fear, there would be no doubt, no questions like, well, I really like this, but am I going to be good enough? No, gosh, no. There's no questions like that. You're gonna be like, yeah, I got this. So
Yes.
just remember that energy, that yeah, I got this. And throw it at your finances, throw it at your relationships, throw it at yourself in the mirror.
Yes.
Because you're amazing.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, and I want to send so much love to this beautiful group of people who are here sharing this and listening with us. It's just, there's no coincidence here that so many similar messages came through. And I love the parallels. I love the synchronicities. I love the energy of the people that have joined us here. It's just,
Always.
it feels so good. It's just
Yeah.
such a beautiful experience to share with this group.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look. And now after the whole hour, here I am.
You've released, Jeffrey. Now nothing is holding you back.
Wow. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I say this every week. You have a bazillion places your attention can be, and I'm so honored and grateful that you're here every week. I'm so honored that our little community grows every week. Thank you so much, Karen, for being part of this rotating door of beautiful human beings that come spend time with us. And I just love you to smithereens, and I'm so glad that you're here.
Oh, ditto, my friend. I love being here. I love all of the people that we get to talk to and read with. And I love being with you. And it just lifts me every time. So I'm grateful to you, and I'm grateful to everyone here.
Yes, this is good medicine.
This is good medicine.
All right, you guys, have a beautiful rest of your week. Oh, you know what? I'm going to be on tomorrow with Lady Blacksmith. She's coming back for a little pop-up, a little impromptu. So we're gonna do that tomorrow at 4 o'clock if you guys are around. All right, you guys, have a beautiful night. We'll see you tomorrow.